Hi, everyone. This is Heather Hodges. I'm an organizational psychologist. Welcome to my show. This is the place where we say I'm in to creativity, bold thinking, transformational growth, and meaningful conversations. Today is the continuation of a series of podcasts on the Enneagram where I'll explore each of the 9 types, their wings, stress, and security numbers, how they might show up at work, blind spots, and paths for growth. So we are still in the gut or the anger triad, and today's number is in the withdrawn stance. So 9s are called mediators or adaptive peacemakers. They are easygoing and patient and accepting and complacent and non-aggressive. So 9s have the passion or the vice of sloth and the desire to avoid conflict. Now, let's unpack sloth, because in this instance, the vice of sloth, it does not mean laziness, because 9s, they just aren't lazy. They have bursts of creativity and they can be highly productive and they get a lot of things done. So sloth is more like the desire just to stay unaffected by life. So think of a sloth in the zoo. So we have a sloth in the Dallas Aquarium, and bless his little heart, that little guy, he is right next to the Dippin' Dots. So it's a noisy spot, but Mr. Sloth always looks so peaceful and chill, but it's like he's in his own little world and he's just completely unaffected by all of the craziness and noise around him. That's just like a 9. They have a peacefulness about them, even during chaos. So the basic need of a 9 is to avoid conflict, and the basic fear is of loss and separation. So the key motivations for a 9, they want to create harmony in their environment, and they want to avoid conflicts and tension and to preserve things just as they are. And they want to resist whatever would upset or disturb them. So 9s are trusting and stable. They are usually creative, optimistic, supportive, but they can also be too willing to go along just to get along, just to keep the peace. So they want everything to be peaceful, to be conflict-free, but they also tend to be complacent, and they will simplify problems and minimize anything that is upsetting. So they typically struggle with inertia and stubbornness, but they do like to get input from others, and they really like comfort and routines. And at their best, they are able to bring people together and heal conflicts. So 9s are the least complex of all of the numbers on the Enneagram. So what you see is what you get with a 9. So they do not like to cause conflict. So what they do is they merge with other people. So they switch and see things from your perspective to keep the peace. And when 9s merge, they sometimes forget their own personal view. And so because they accommodate so much and see the views of everyone, they make really great mediators and counselors and ministers and judges. So now 9s are in the anger triad along with 8s and 1s, but the 9s that you know, they do not seem like they're angry. And that's because they're passive aggressive. They appear to be all really cool, calm, and collected on the outside and just to let bygones be bygones. But inside the 9, there's something else going on. They are conflict avoidant, remember, so they want you to know that they're angry or irritated or hurt, but they want you to figure it out on your own and just to fix it without them having to talk about it or deal with it. Decisions take an unbelievably long time for 9. So inside, they have this constant review going on. Do I agree with it? Do I disagree with this? Do I want to do this? Do I not want to do this? What will happen if I don't do it? And if I go against the whole group, am I going to lose something? And so what happens with all of this is they end up being procrastinators. And they are also procrastinators because everything looks the same to them. So they end up doing whatever they see first, whatever's right in front of them. So 9s who have a lot to do, they have learned to either get someone to help them prioritize what has to be done, or they have created a decision tree to help them make all of these decisions. One of the things I love about 9s is that they are so kind and they're so loving, so accommodating, so sweet, and so daggum stubborn. You cannot get a 9 to do anything they don't want to do. Yeah, they like to go along to get along. They like to merge and be close, but they are just not prone to peer pressure. They just won't do it. But they won't always tell you they aren't going to do it. And that's because 9s have about 50 ways of saying no, which sounds like yes to the rest of us. So 9s like routine and predictability. And if they have a good job with good benefits, they don't usually need to move up. If what they have is adequate, they can be content for a long time. Now, remember, 9s operate on inertia, and remember this from your high school science class. So a body at rest stays at rest, and a body in motion stays in motion. And that's one of the reasons that 9s like group activities, because all of that energy, it's already there. So 9s are so used to tuning into what the group needs. And so when there isn't a group to tune into, they sometimes narcotize, they sometimes fall asleep to themselves. So 9s, they also do really well if they have a limited list of choices. So for example, if you have a friend and you're going to lunch together and they're a 9 and you ask them, where do you want to go eat? They will almost always say, I don't mind, wherever you want to go. So if you really want them to choose, it can be helpful if you narrow the choices down and just like give them 3 options. Do you want to go for Thai, Italian, or a burger? And then let them make a decision. So if you live with a 9 or work with a 9, it's important that you honor what they say they want to do and that's what's really important to them. Now, sometimes in a relationship with a 9, you'll feel kind of tuned out and you'll wonder if they are even listening to you. And that's because they aren't listening to you. When you bring it up again, it will be like the first time they've heard it. And so I'm convinced that 9s miss about 1/3 of everything that's going on around them. Now, I want to say one more thing about 9s, and that's what we call right action. Even though 9s are conflict avoidant, there are times in the life of a 9 when they know that they know that they know that they have to make a hard decision because it's the right thing to do. And the conflict that comes from that decision, it's going to be okay for the 9 because they know it's the right thing to do and it's theirs to do. So these times, they may come around a dozen times in a lifetime for a 9. If you try to get them to tell you where they want to go for dinner, they don't really care very much. But when they are making a decision for right action, you can count on a 9 every single time. Okay, let's talk about wings. So your wings are on either side of your core number, and everyone has access to both wings, but you may be overly reliant on one wing over the other. So your work is to grow both of your wings so that you are balanced and mature and transformed. So of course, 9s have an 8 wing and they have a 1 wing. So a 9 with a strong 8 wing, this is one of the most complex combinations on the Enneagram because of the 8's need to go against power and the 9's need to avoid conflict. But this is also a powerful place on the Enneagram because 9s with a strong 8 wing, they are more energized, more confident, more stubborn, and they tend to operate with more confidence. Now, on the other side, nines with a strong one wing, they have this strong sense of right and wrong. So the one energy helps the nine stay a little more focused so they're able to get things done. So they can also be more critical, more orderly, more introverted, and more passive aggressive than other nines, which is saying quite a bit. So these nines are principled and modest, and people love to follow them because of their integrity and their steadfastness. Okay, now let's take a look at stress and security. So what do the arrows mean for nines? So when nines are really stressed, they can take on some 6 energy. And when they are feeling more secure, they can take on some 3 energy. So when nines are moving in the direction of stress, they can travel the line to 6, and they can suddenly become anxious and worried like a 6. So they become more self-doubting, which makes decision-making even more difficult for the 9. But interestingly, they also become more reactive, which is a big departure from where they normally are, which is slow to react. However, when 9s are moving in their direction of growth and security, these self-neglecting 9s, they can become more self-developing and energetic like a healthy 3. So they become more goal-oriented, more decisive, more self-confident, and they are more in touch with their own agenda. So they take charge of their own life, and they can believe that their presence matters. So what do 9s look like at work? So 9s are found in every profession, and they do a really good job. They get along with just about everyone. They make wonderful leaders and counselors and judges and teachers and public relations professionals. And they can be highly creative and innovative because they often think about the needs of others. We believe that Walt Disney was probably a 9. Now, some other artists and creatives who are likely 9s are Morgan Freeman, Keanu Reeves, John Legend, and Snoop Dogg. So 9s are punctual and responsible. They don't like jobs where they have to take a lot of work home with them. They aren't terribly ambitious. They don't usually cause trouble or disruptions, and they respect authority. So when 9s lead, and I'm specifically thinking of 9 leaders, they usually work for consensus, and they will take the team places that are appropriate and safe, and that's really good for everybody. So for aggressive numbers, so 3s, 7s, and 8s, it may take a lot of patience and growth on your part to let a 9 lead, but you can learn a lot from a strong leader. I know I have. I had the privilege of working with a strong, mature 9 in the past, and she is simply extraordinary. Once she was given the space and the encouragement to lead, she fully stepped into leadership, and she led me, even though I was her supervisor. She had a way of asking a gentle question that just always showed wisdom and foresight. It was her way of showing me what I was missing. So if you have a 9 in your life, learn to pay close attention when they do that. So mature 9s at work, they build bridges and they bring people together in a spirit of collaboration. So 9s are able to see multiple points of view. So they are able to solve problems, and they put together deals where everybody wins. Now, 9s get their energy and their sense of identity from the group. So they would rather merge and share the credit for success with the group than to have the spotlight shine on them. So this is also why little 9s, they don't like having happy birthday sung to them at parties. It's just too much attention on them. So parents, if your child seems shy or maybe even cries during the cake and candle ritual we do here in the US, they may be a 9. Now, that's not to say that 9s don't like recognition. Just like every other Enneagram number, 9s like recognition. but they also like to fly under the radar so they don't draw attention to themselves at work. So many nines, they prefer to be recognized in private rather than in public. Or if you do recognize a nine for their contribution in public, they like the whole team to be recognized together. So if you supervise a nine and you want to recognize them, keep that in mind. They would either rather you do that privately or just recognize everybody together. Now, one of the things I've noticed is that if a chance for advancement does come up at work, a nine might pursue it, but only when they feel ready. In general, nines are not high energy people and they don't like feeling controlled or pressured to perform. And unfortunately, it's just all too easy to take advantage of a nine in the workplace or in relationships. And we need to pay close attention to this. They can be too accommodating. And so they merge to avoid conflict when they want to say no. So we need to be more just aware of this with the nines at work. And truthfully, I think nines sell themselves short at work a lot of the time, even though they have the skills and are capable of holding the highest positions. They usually gravitate towards middle management where they can avoid the kinds of stress and conflict that's associated with senior leadership. But nines, they make such great leaders, and we truly need more nines to step up and lead. Some of the world's most famous leaders are nines. Abraham Lincoln, Queen Elizabeth II, Barack Obama, Ronald Reagan, the Dalai Lama. Now, let's explore possible blind spots because we all have blind spots. So here are a few that you may experience if you're a nine. So to begin, nines, you often suppress your anger to keep your own peace. However, when you don't address your anger, it might surface indirectly and you can tend to get frustrated at people or situations that are not even connected to the precipitating event. And what I mean is you're not always angry at what you're angry at. So work to figure out where your anger is coming from and then address the root cause. Second, nines, you can be long-winded. And you may not realize that your tendency to be wordy and to give lengthy explanations, it can overwhelm or cause your listener to disengage. So work to be clearer and more concise in your communication. What you have to say is valuable. So don't give your audience the opportunity to tune you out. And third, nines, one of your superpowers is seeing multiple perspectives, but your gift can be your curse when you unintentionally create confusion and it can make you appear indecisive. So try to give a clear perspective. Let people know where you stand. It will enhance your credibility and influence. And finally, nines, you like to keep the peace and harmony, but in the process, you may fail to express your true needs and desires. And over time, this can lead to frustration and misunderstandings in relationships at work and at home. So ask yourself, what do I really want in this situation? And have I made that clear? Okay, nines, here are 5 tips for growth and development in your life and leadership. Number 1. Assert yourself more. Instead of finding out what others are thinking, express your own thoughts and feelings and let others react to you. Number 2, emphasize what is most important. Instead of offering too much information and using too many details, communicate the need to know and must know information. So practice being concise but accurate. Number 3, keep your desk clear. Delegate tasks and projects. So move administrative items quickly from your desk and only spend a specific amount of time each day on paperwork. So try not to get bogged down or distracted by the minutia. And number 4, please express your needs. Your needs are as important as other people's needs. You matter, and your needs will not create conflict. And number 5, set priorities and keep them. Go to battle with your tendency to procrastinate. Write out your to-do list in order of priority and keep your list in front of you and check it every hour. Well, there you have it. Enneagram 9s. This is the second in a series of episodes exploring each of the 9 Enneagram types. And if you missed the first episode, go back and listen to Enneagram 8s. Thank you for joining me in this conversation. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a review or a comment. I read every single one and they are all precious. And share this episode with someone who could use a dose of creativity and inspiration. So until next time, keep saying I'm in to creativity, bold thinking, transformational growth, and meaningful conversations. May you be wildly creative in your life and leadership. I'll see you soon.